What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Chicken Dinner Live, episode number 004. I'm Sam Panayotovich with you for maybe an hour 15. We'll see if any surprises pop up along the way, but we're glad you're with us again on a Thursday night, leading us up to Thursday night football. Make sure you got your Amazon Primes ready. It's Cowboys and Giants. We'll talk about that game. You also have a big game in college tonight. Maybe not a big game, but you've got big line movement between Army and Temple. They bet Army up, and now the wave coming in on Temple. On the guest list today, we've got a professional bettor, a very handsome gentleman named Joey Isaks, who will join us at about 7:15. Joey has basically found an edge in the most obscure stuff on planet Earth. I promise you, Joey is not making 8-leg parlays. We'll talk about how tough it is to get down. This guy is a guy who bets a lot of props, and he's scattering a lot of different outs to get down what he needs on props. And we'll discuss some of the complications with getting down and getting full on some of these prop orders that Joey gets. Really look forward to talking to him. And he doesn't do a lot of media, so this will be fun to pick the brain of one of the sharpest guys that I've come to know. And we have mutual friends that have been pumping him for a very, very long time. So that'll be at 7:15. At 7:30, Alex Smith, the resident hockey wizard, here on Chicken Dinner, host of the Ice Guys with Ian Cameron. Hockey season is right around the corner. I know. You're talking football and NFL, college football. Some of you still play CFL, but hockey season is almost here. I mean, we got preseason games flying around right now, and Alex has a bunch of future bets. He's got some looks. He sent me a text the other day, the laundry list of future plays, guys to score 30 goals, guys to win Hart Trophy. So we'll dive inside a lot of the futures that he likes. And those of you that have listened to Chicken Dinner for a long time, you know Alex, he's made us money in hockey for what feels like 5-6 years now since we became friends. And backed by popular demand, the human calculator, Corbie Craig, crunching the college football numbers. He gave us 2 winners, 1 loss last week. He's going to give you these college football totals. You might not know where the team is, but he's got numbers and he's crunching those things to get us ready for 7:45 with Corbie Craig. And last thing before we get started here, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL power ratings. I talked to 3 gentlemen who do numbers, and they're very, very good at them. They all have different top 5s in the NFL. And one of them doesn't have Kansas City on the number 1 line, which we'll discuss. But the morning show, BetQL Daily on Odyssey, it is 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 Eastern to noon Eastern, Monday through Friday with Joe Ostrowski and myself. If you haven't listened yet, did we have a show this week? I mean, new characters have joined the party. We got Kelly in Vegas every week. We got Michael Felder. We got Brad Powers. We got Jason LaConfora. Shay and Irving joined the party this week. George, a.k.a. GRP, is on the show now, part of our revolving door of characters. So BetQLNetwork.com, Odyssey app. It is all free. BetQL Daily, 9 a.m. Eastern to 12 p.m. Having a lot of fun there. 3 hours a day, the morning show that bets. Okay, so I want to talk about the number 1 team in the NFL because I don't think it's as easy as it's been in years past to say that Kansas City is just number 1 in the NFL. Obviously, they're 3-0. They have a really high power rating, but it's really like this glass right here. When Joey jumps on, I'm going to make a drink. This glass right now is, I would say, half full with ice, but some would look at it half empty. Do you put more ice into the glass, the conversation with Kansas City, that they're 3-0 straight up or that they're 1-2 against the number? What's more important to you? To me, I learned a long time ago, being out in Vegas, living in Vegas, hanging out at the Superbook. Good teams win, great teams cover. And right now, Kansas City just isn't covering. Now, yes, they've got some injuries. Which team doesn't have injuries, though? They're down Pacheco in the backfield. Hollywood Brown is out. They've got some issues on the defensive side of the ball. They're rotating new guys like Xavier Worthy, but they still have the best player on planet Earth under center. And that's not a team that I'm going to be looking to fade when they're short favorites, when they're -2.5, when they're -3. How about the Sunday night game? Atlanta was in there till the very end, but the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, they get a lot of calls. Things tend to go their way. And when 15 has the ball, you're terrified going against them. Even if you had Falcons on Sunday and you were feeling good, 7-0, 14-7, what's coming in the second half. You're going to get great football from their quarterback. And he's sort of the elephant in the room. But I don't know right now that Kansas City is the best team in football. So Adam Chernoff from Right Angle Sports, he's on Chicken Dinner weekly. He's got Kansas City 1. Kenny White, who's on Chicken Dinner also weekly, has Kansas City 1. Andy Molitor, though, from the Deep Dive podcast, who was on our morning show today, ironically enough, he's got Buffalo on line number 1. And I know what people are thinking. Well, Buffalo hasn't played anybody. Neither has Tennessee in college football. But Tennessee is now the 5th best team in the country. You can only play and beat who's in front of you. But I think the conversation around 1 through 5 is very interesting. For me, I think it's Kansas City 1, Detroit actually 2, Buffalo 3. And then what do you do with San Francisco? At full strength, San Francisco is a 2. If McCaffrey's out there, Debo, Kittle, but those guys aren't there. And now you've got Hargrave, one of their best defensive players. He's on the line, torn triceps. He might miss the whole season. So 4 of their best players are already hurt. And the quarterback, Brock Purdy, has a back issue. Now, he's going to play, but that team is almost impossible to calculate right now. And I'd love to get Joey's thoughts on this when we get him on in about 8 minutes from now. How do you quantify teams that have potential but aren't healthy? Do you really want to lay 10.5 with San Francisco on Sunday? I know the Patriots suck. It's not that I'm saying take New England, but at some point you just have to look at San Francisco, see what they did last week against a Rams team that I think is fucking horrible, lose that game, and I think there's this narrative that they'll just bounce back and they'll be fine. McCaffrey's going to Germany to get stem cells. I don't think that's fine. So I don't even have, at current structure right now, with the guys all missing, I don't have San Francisco as a top 5 team. They start getting pieces back, you obviously ramp up the power rating. But a guy like McCaffrey's worth 1.5 too. Debo's worth 1.5 too. I don't know that Kittle's worth more than a point, but that's 5 points right there. 3 players. Hargrave's worth a point. So you're talking about 4 players, potentially 6.5 points. That takes them out of the conversation for the number 1 team in the league. It just does. So I think, Detroit clearly has a loss to Tampa, but in that game, it was so weird. Detroit was moving the ball at will. Detroit happened to go 1 of 7 in the red zone. So how can you really knock a team for getting down inside the 20 7 times? It's not an exact science. It's more art at this point. But in terms of Kansas City, that is still a team at the end of the day I don't want to mess with in the playoffs. How many times have we thought about getting cute in the AFC? Oh, this is Buffalo's year. Or last year it was Baltimore. Remember Baltimore was a 4-point favorite in the playoffs against Mahomes? How'd that work out? So this Chiefs team is going to battle. They're going to try new things. They're going to operate different packages. Andy Reid is seeing what he's got, including from Mr. Taylor Swift right now. But still a team big picture that is going to be tough to knock out. And you can't be the king until you kill the king. And that trifecta with Mahomes and Reid and Kelsey, whether you admit it or not, is the modern day Brady, Belichick, and Gronkowski. So is Kansas City the best team in football? Maybe. Definitely 1 or 2. But you've got a lot of power-rated teams like the Lions, the Bills, even the Ravens at 1 and 2 are in those guys' top 5, top 6. Minnesota. How good is Minnesota? Are they top 5? Are they threatening top 5? Rufus Peabody's got them right around top 5. Everybody's got different numbers. But again, at the end of the day, good teams win and great teams cover. As for the picks I made this week, let me pull these up here. Again, remember, one-man band per usual. I've got 7 of them. And last week, 3-5 last week. Started the season 12-7, which is really good. But at the time I said unsustainable. Obviously, you can't hit 63% in football. You just can't over a full season. The Baylor loss is one of the worst I've ever had. And somebody actually slid me a DM, nice pick, pussy, after Baylor lost. And I just at this point, I just laugh. I don't know 5 years ago that I would have laughed. I would have just been like, ah, and I would have been typing and retorting right back. Do you think that's my fault that Baylor can't stop a Hail Mary? If you do, you should probably stop gambling. But 3 wins, 5 losses last week. We had the rising info at Utah. It didn't matter. I'm okay with that pick. We get quarterback 1 out and he doesn't play. That's good information. And you bet that 11 times out of 10. So I can handle that loss. It's tough to swallow the Baylor loss still. And it's been almost a week. They are up the whole game in total control. They're up 24-10 in the second quarter. They go into half with the lead. They got the lead late. They're up 7, and they got a chance to kick that field goal. Ugh. Missed the field goal. 2 minutes to go. 2 seconds to go midfield. Hail Mary. And then in overtime, as they're about to tie the game, they fumble through the back of the end zone. That's one of the worst of all time. Baylor +2. I had money line. I even had some second half. That was brutal. But you got to move on. You got to move on and think about the next week because last week is over. I'll say that if I go 6-1. I'll say that if I go 1-6. Last week is over. Keep your process in order. I like this Cowboy game tonight, but I'm not laying the points. I think what you should do, and if you don't want to do Bears with me, you see the picks on the screen right there. I went Cowboys money line, wheeled with the Bears money line. Big Bears guy this weekend. Not big picture. This will be the first time I bet the Bears this season. Off of the Rams win, where they emptied everything late against San Francisco, divisional games, those are always weird in the NFL. Now the Rams got to come to Chicago and face a top 5 defense with a battered line and no Kupp and no Nakua. And the Rams defense, boys and girls, is 28th out of 32 metrically. EPA per play, 28th out of 32. Is that good? I think this is a great spot to go against Chicago. But basically what I'm suggesting you do is take the Cowboys and put them in a money line parlay. I think Bears is good. But if you want to go open parlay, a lot of you still play with the corner guy. They allow you to do the open parlay. You can put Cowboys money line in with an open slot and then fill it with whatever you want. That feels like it's a halfway winner. I don't think Dallas is losing tonight. As we look at the board now, let me share the board now. You had 6s in the market, but it's sort of coming off that now. And I don't understand the Giants love. Here's the game right here, 101, 102. You're down to 5 at a couple shops. So you got some sharp groups coming in, taking the points. This open 7, down to 5. I certainly would not take 5 with the Giants. But I don't really want to lay it with Dallas either. Dallas win 24-20, get out of there, fill that open parlay. So I do like that as we see this total coming down a little bit in Army and Temple. I love this odds logic screen. You got this right here, the Caesars number coming down 46.5. You got some 47s here. That's another game where we saw two-way action all week long. Army goes from 10.5, 11 out to 13. Now it's coming back. That's going to kick off in about 15 minutes here. I don't really love it. We do have Army in our college survivor, so I think they're going to win. But I do like Dallas in that game. The other picks that I'll get to here quickly, Colorado +14. That's a lot of points against a very bad pass defense. UCF, good team. Bad pass defense. And that's really what Colorado thrives on, passing the football. Shedeur Sanders making time, making deep throws. I'm going back to Carolina. Really whiffed on that one last week, laying 10.5 against James Madison. Weird first half, and then they couldn't catch up. But they're better than Duke. I really like Carolina in this spot. This will be very public. People are going to come in and take Illinois. I was told by guys in Vegas, small bets, Illinois, large bets, Penn State. And that makes sense. I think this is like a 31-10 final. Lean to the under, obviously, but if Penn State goes up big early, Illinois is going to have to turn up the tempo. So that's a game where it could get ugly, and Illinois has some issues on the offensive line and at tight end. And their quarterback, when he's behind, not great. I'm going Colts plus 1.5 against the Steelers, fading the very overvalued Steelers team right now. 3-0 with Justin Fields, who's played almost perfect football. I don't know how long that can last. I'll play some Jacksonville plus 6.5. You guys know how I feel about Houston. I think that team is very overrated from a number standpoint. And then I'm going to buy the dip on the total in Seattle and Detroit. Lowest Lions total of the season. Yes, they're 3-0 to the under, but their totals have been in the low 50s. Low 50s, 51.5, 52.5, 53. We're down to 46.5 right now on that total. And to me, that's just too low. So I'm going to buy the dip. Seattle also has a couple of defensive linemen hurt in the trenches, and that's going to allow Detroit to run the ball and set up Jared Goff's favorite thing, the play action pass. So it's about 7:16 right now. I see my guy in the backstage right now, Joey Isaks, hanging out. What's up, handsome? How you doing?
What's going on? Cheers.
You did bring a drink. All right. He asked me, can I bring a drink? And I said, of course you can. Joey's on Twitter at Joey Isaks, ISAAS. And as I always do, I've never had you on the show. And I know that you don't do a lot of media because you're busy betting. You're busy filling orders and all that. Don't mind me pouring my whiskey as I'm talking here. But I noticed that you were on Circles Off episode 69. And I was on Circles Off number 71. So we're sort of like related.
Yeah. I'd rather be the one that I was on, but
you told a story in that show, by the way, and I thought it was really interesting because you said, and this was a couple years back, I think it was 2022. You're on the show, they're asking you about your process and how you bet and what you do. And I actually wrote this quote down. You said at 31, age 31, I wanted to bet forever. You then followed up with, at 36, I can't wait to get out. Can you explain what you meant by that and maybe how you feel about that even more? Because now you're a couple years older after that interview. That was a very interesting quote. Take me through what you meant.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I want to get out more now than I did then, but I think, as someone who's probably, I was betting at 13, 12, like go to Vegas and send my mom downstairs to, make my bets, my parlays. I had no idea what I was doing, but then, it's just like one of those things that, I've been doing it for so long and it's become much different than the fun part that was in my 20s and all that. And now it's a job and it's not the greatest world. And I wouldn't mind actually watching sports again. I don't really watch sports anymore. I just, don't enjoy much about it. And so I kind of wouldn't mind getting back to that aspect of it and do something else.
Well, it's not fun because it's a job. It's
Right.
For you, it's a livelihood. And I totally understand, my buddy Vegas Rick, who's been betting for 35 years now, he's got on a Saturday, he's got $1 million in the air in college basketball.
Yeah.
And I've been with him on some of those Saturdays, and there's a big decision goes his way. He makes 100,000 on one game. Game goes to overtime. The over hits. You would think he would be elated. He's almost deflated from having to follow it and watch it and think about all the numbers that are moving. And if I lose this, I got to move around this. It's when you're at that level, it's just a different conversation. It's not a guy betting $10 on DraftKings or FanDuel or BetMGM to win 500. It's a livelihood. And when you're doing it like that, it's not fun sometimes. And I don't do it. I'm not going to act like I do. I talk about it. I talk with people. I work with people that bet for a living, but I don't do it for a living. I can't even imagine what it's like sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, and then is my mic still on?
Oh yeah. You're good.
So the truth is that once you win, if you're betting a lot on PPH accounts, it's not even a win until you collect. So you have to sweat that after. And so you never get to enjoy it.
I remember the first time you hear the fizz there. This is a fascinating audio podcast if you're listening to the version. If you're missing this live and listening, you're like, why is there a 2-liter being twisted off? Well, because your boy's making a drink. It's been a long day. I've been up since 7 a.m. First time you reached out to me, was a conversation that we had because our first exchange on the internet, and again, we didn't know each other at the time. Somebody was telling me that they could bet their bankroll on a prop. And I think it was the Damian Lillard prop. Correct me if I'm wrong. He had just scored 70 points in an NBA game. And his point prop, which was sitting 30.5, 31.5, was 37.5. And I made the point that I thought it was a good time to bet the under. And you had eventually joined the conversation because somebody chirped at me that he would bet his whole bankroll on the over. And I just laughed because I said, you can't do that. You can't bet your whole bankroll on a single prop, at least at one shop. I mean, if you want to scatter it around 40 places, sure. But most people can't bet their bankroll on a prop. And I made the comment that sort of got taken out of context that a wise guy can't get down 200 on a prop, which looking back, I probably should have been more careful with that. What I meant was, I struggle getting down $100 on a prop, and I'm not a professional. So to get down what you need to get down on a prop, Joey, how many different outs are we talking? Like, be real with me. How many different outs to get down what you need to get down?
That's a tough one because if you're looking to play this, not many people play something that's widely available on every single site. They'll find Lillard. Let's say if they want to play under 37.5, 38, they'll find it at a few shops, and then it'll be 36.5, and they'll pass at those. So it's very rare that you're going to find something that's available to play everywhere, where you're just like, this is widely available, and I'm gonna take that Lillard prop everywhere. But it's funny. My sister works for an NHL team, and she was asked a question in her interview, and what would you put? It was a player on the Flyers. I don't know his name. What would you put his prop at for points, right, for a game? And she said 3, and he scored 3 points. And I said to her after, I said, you realize this is the dumbest thing. You're completely wrong because anybody with a 3 minus 110 as their prop, I'm going to take the under every time, right? I guess McDavid's close sometimes. But it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong after. If you can have a terrible, reasoning. But so, yeah, I think you are right. Lillard under.
It's not about being right. I think people think that you can bet so much on these very small markets. And
in terms of that, you're going to have to spread it out. You're going to have to be smart. There's definitely ways to go about it. I have a Telegram chat where I'll send plays to, let's say 25 people. I'll have a guy who will do plays at legals. And then I have a way to get down at PPH sites. So, there's definitely a way to get down. And I do think you can get down a lot if you have a good network, but it takes time and it takes, hours and dedication, and you can definitely get down a lot on props, but will that account last if you're only going to play props?
No, it won't. I remember moving out to Mass, and I had just gotten one of the apps, and I'm not going to say which app it was. We had a couple of them out here because when the apps came into the new states, you remember the big promo bonuses.
Totally.
We'll give you $1,000 free bet to sign up, which is a free $1,000. And I actually used one of my free bets. I don't know if I told you this story, but I used one of them and got super lucky. I went to a book that gave me a free $1,000 bet, and rather than bet it on a side or a total, I bet Miami to win the Eastern Conference a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
at 950, and they let me bet the whole roll on it. So my philosophy was, I'm going to bet the dime. If I lose, which I probably will, because it's a 9-1 shot, I think plus 950, I'll just get the 1,000 back, and we're back to even. I'm free rolling a future because you're giving me a promo, and that one hit. But we had all this money in all these accounts. And then I tried, it was the Buffalo Sabres. And I tried to bet 500 on them to make the playoffs. 11-1, maybe. So I'm trying to bet 5 to win 55.
Yeah.
And I get the wheel. They don't take the bet. They move the line to 9 and say, we'll give you $100.
Yeah.
They move the line first and then offer me the 100. That really pissed me off, man. And you got to deal with that all the time, huh?
I will say, on Monday I tried to bet the Royals to make the playoffs. It was like minus 150 at DraftKings, and I was able to get $200.
See, 200. What did I say? 200.
Yep, it was terrible. I think they might have made the playoffs.
Why don't they take more? Don't they want? If I'm a book, and Joey Isaks wants to give me a nickel or a dime worth of information, I take the information, Joey. I don't understand why they don't want to take the info.
Yeah, do you know how bookmaker works makes sense to me. Take anything 250, 500, move the line. No one's going to crush you on props. No one's going to crush you on these kind of things. I feel like there should be a universal law that you on by day, Sunday morning, if you're a legal sportsbook, you have to take 500 on an NFL side. It shouldn't be hard. And 200 on a prop, 250 on a prop, and then allow rebets. Move it 7 cents each time. There should be a easy way to do this, but I guess not.
I'm going to put you on the spot in a couple minutes here, and I will ask you for just one prop to share with the audience. Yeah. I know that your stuff is very tight knit, and you don't kiss and tell, but I will kindly ask you to share a prop with us. Maybe it's on tonight's game, or maybe it's on NFL Sunday, but keep that in the back of your mind as I ask you now about price sensitivity. Mm-hmm. And how long did it take you to understand how important the right price was, is, will be? That is the biggest direct message I get. This line was 14. The dog got blasted down to 11, and I will get the text or the DM Saturday morning, college football. Do you like this team at plus 11? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a lot of people think that way, and a lot of those people will still bet it at plus 11, loses by 2 touchdowns. Damn, I got hosed. Not really. You didn't get hosed. You kind of hosed yourself. But like, how long did it take you to understand just how important the price sensitivity is?
It took a while. And it's one of those things that you have to just decide that you're gonna learn, or you're just gonna be an idiot. There's a lot of stupid people in this world. There's nothing we can do. You're just gonna be harping to these people, and they're not gonna learn. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little less sensitive with when it comes to money line. If something's like the total 44.5 and it's now 44, I might stop betting it. But if it's like minus 130, and it moved, I'll keep going at 135. So I'm a little different there. Maybe I'm not the smartest in that regard, but when it comes to totals and spreads, I'm very careful. When it comes to money line, I'm a little more lenient. That's just myself.
When you're in a mood, what do you like when you're in a mood?
A mood?
Yeah, you said if you're in a mood, you'll keep going.
No, move.
Oh, a move. I thought you said if you were in a mood. I'm like, what do you like when you're in a mood? Like, you're betting with moods?
I'm not. Oh, no. I'm not a moody guy. My wife is, but not me.
You've been doing this 20 years now in some way, shape, or form. You and I, in our earlier years, used to pick up envelopes and run things around and all that. So you've seen a lot and you've done a lot.
I think I picked up an envelope yesterday. Let me find it.
Well, let's see. Can you show us how much is in it?
Yes, nothing that exciting these days.
BS. There's at least 3 dimes in that envelope. Don't bullshit.
I don't know where it went. I think it went in the.
You can't bring up the envelope and then not show the envelope.
I had one yesterday. I met with the bookmaker guy. But yeah, no. Envelopes are dead, or they're dead when it comes to, like, with crypto. It's always, let me if you owe them money, they'll be at your house at Tuesday, Monday morning. If they owe you, it's let me send you 10 Venmos.
Yeah, 10 Venmos that then get
only
shut
like
down.
3 cash accounts I have left. I only have 3 accounts that do cash now.
It's isn't it crazy? Because that was never 20 years ago, 15 years ago. It was all cash.
I will say one thing that's great is not having to mail money anymore. I am very thankful that I mastered it though. I was going to Kmart buying sweatpants, putting the cash in the sweatpants, taping up the pockets. I never got the money confiscated.
Did you ever have a story like I had when I went to the This is on the south side of Chicago. I was about 22. I was still in college, and I had to go deposit into 5 Dimes. We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
And at the time, you had to go to the Western Union. And I'm on the south side of Chicago. Look at me. I'm a white guy with glasses. You know, some of these things aren't like the other, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to the Western Union, and I'm 22 years old. I couldn't be more out of place, but it's the nearest Western Union to where I was at. So I'm like, I'll just go to the Western Union. No big deal. I'm the only white person in a mile. And I get there, and the directions on the Western Union form are, fill it out to this person. And it's always, if you remember, it's 4 names. It's Enrique Hernandez Gonzalez Martinez, and I'm sending $2,000 to this person in Panama or whatever. And I'd fill the form out, and I slide it across the window under the glass, put the cash down. This woman looks at me, looks at the name, looks at me, looks at the name, and says, "Are you sure you want to send this thing?" I'm like, "Yes, of course I'm sure I would like to send this to Enrique Hernandez Martinez Gonzalez," and then pray that it went through and that somebody didn't bust into the Western Union. And then you had to call the number and verify it. Oh my God. That was like being 22 and doing that, terrifying.
Oh yeah. And do you remember Net Teller?
What's that?
Net Teller?
I don't know what Net Teller is, no.
That was like the only way to deposit on some places, and they took the most ridiculous fees. Like, and I had no money at 21, 22, and I would deposit like $200 at a time, and they would take like $28 out of it. So I would only get like in the account $170, and it was the only option. They don't exist anymore. There was a bunch of those.
I see my guy Alex Smith standing by in his Carolina Blue chicken dinner hoodie. We're going to get to him in a couple of moments here, but I guess, Joey, because I don't have you on to give out your edge and give out a bunch of bets. That's not why you're here. But I am curious if there's anything that you can share with us that still might have a little bit of a lick and might have a chance to make people some money. Is there anything tonight or
of course.
Anything into Sunday?
I can give out tonight really quick, and then let me open my laptop, and I can give out some for Saturday too. And then as I'm opening my laptop, I will say, hold on. Anyone is welcome to message me on Twitter, questions, or if they were interested in partnering up with me or anyone this football season, or what it is, and anything in that regard. So I guess here, let me give you Saturday. I have not even played yet. It's on my notes to do in the next 20, 30 minutes. Giddens over 94.5 rushing yards, and Gabriel over 289.5 passing yards.
Dylan Gabriel, quarterback at Oregon.
I have no idea, but that sounds right.
So I love this. You and Spanky, you guys don't know who these guys are, but you guys bet these numbers and you win. So Gabriel, what's the passing yardage number on him?
289.5.
289.5. They got UCLA. They're going to kill them.
Okay. That's usually not great for passing yards over, but in my opinion, but those were hot off the press sent to me, so I'll share. And then tonight, let's see. How about Cooks under 3.5 receptions? That might be actually cooked. It might have moved a lot. Under 6.5 sacks. Let's see. Dak under 261.5 passing yards. Those were all good in tonight. I'm getting some laughs on the Telegram. Let's see what else. I've seen a lot of Ezekiel Elliott under 1.5 receptions, under yards. If you can parlay under carries, under yards, that's not, a few places will allow that. That's good. Yeah. And then Dowdle over rushing yards. I think that got hit. If you can find 39.5, that's probably good. That's all I got.
He came out firing. I thought he was going to. I asked for one. You gave me the whole clip.
Oh, I got a whole. I'm like George. I'm George. I'm George. I got a whole notebook.
Oh, great. I love this tool. For those of you that don't use the prop shop, Joey mentions Brandon Cooks. Here's the range and price. You're talking under on Cooks receptions, yeah, 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the range, and of course, this has gotten destroyed.
Yeah.
At FanDuel, under 3.5. If you're watching on YouTube and X, the under 3.5 catches up to minus 165, which I do not think you should lay. The floor in the market, if you have a 365 account, under 3.5 minus 135. So there is still, even at this time, about an hour until kickoff, a little less than an hour, there is a 30-cent range in these props. One shop on the ceiling, under 3.5 minus 165, and bet 365 under 3.5 minus 135. Get the right number, boys and girls.
Yeah, I'm actually
just get the right number.
I'm getting told from the guy who sent it to me that he got minus 115, so pass.
Okay, we'll pass on that one. But see, it all comes full circle.
If it wins, we can grade it as a win on the show.
Yeah, that's what the influencers do. And if it loses, we won't talk about it. The handle for Joey, I appreciate you so much. I know you don't do a lot of media, so it means a lot that you're joining us here. And let me plug the Twitter one more time. It's at Joey, spelled like Joey, Isaks. You heard the man. If you have any questions, if you need anything else, perhaps, reach out to Joey, and guy's gonna put you in the right direction on a lot of stuff. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, anytime. And I'll give a shout out to my friend's clothing company, Municipal. If you're looking for clothes, give him a shot.
That's the guy. That's Joey Isaks. As he tags out, we're going to tag in my buddy, Alex B. Smith. I said the B for the first time in the history of Chicken Dinner. What do you think?
I know. I appreciate that perfect timing as we now go to video format. So cheers to that.
Cheers to you. What do you got? What are you drinking?
Oh, the usual, just Jameson Black Barrel. So.
Oh, yeah, of course you are. With the very, very fancy, sexy Carolina blue Chicken Dinner hoodie.
Yes. Woo. Available now at the Chicken Dinner store. Everybody get one.
So I do want to ask you about some NFL, but I mainly wanted to have you here because NHL is, well, it's not right around the corner. It's at the corner. Preseason is already underway. So I do want you to go through some of your favorite looks. You sent me that long list of props and futures, and I don't want to go through all of them because that's not how we roll. But I know there are still some that are attackable and attainable. But just in terms of the NFL, your thoughts after a couple weeks. I had the conversation off the top about the best team in the NFL, and I do think it's Kansas City, but I don't think there's a big gap like there was in years past. And I'm really high on the Lions, power rating wise. I'm still high on Baltimore. I think that's a very good football team. The Bills, I'm warming to. I'd like to see it maybe against a better team. The Niners are crippled. The Eagles are banged up. They're down potentially 2 receivers this week, right? A.J. Brown is out. Devontae Smith got absolutely crushed in the head and probably has a concussion. They're down 2 linemen. So we're moving these teams constantly up and down. Minnesota way up. Los Angeles Rams way down. But just your thoughts on maybe the best 2 teams or the best 4 teams in the NFL and maybe how you would rank them.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it being here in St. Paul, but being a Bears fan, the Minnesota Vikings look pretty good on both sides of the ball. And, the thing was with Sam Darnold, it's like, okay, don't make mistakes. Like, he doesn't have to go out there and try to be Patrick Mahomes 2.0 because he's not. He just has to, keep things solid and steady. You have weapons around you. Just, be a little bit more than a game manager. And that's what he's done. He's been efficient and just played well too. So that's a team that I like quite a bit. You mentioned Kansas City. They're a team that, they use their magic tricks every week, find a way to get a win in the late in the game. And that's what you need to be. There's the reason they have 2 Super Bowls back to back. When you're that kind of a team, you're resilient late and you find ways to win when you shouldn't. So that automatically is going to make you one of those top teams. But the craziest thing to me about the NFL in the first 3 weeks is that it seems like the offenses are just dead all over the league. It seems like offenses are playing almost very timid. And I'm thinking about my Bears at this point too, where there's not an opening of the playbook where we saw the ball getting moved around for years and we saw these high totals. And now all of a sudden we're seeing totals that look like when we were kids, 35, 38, 40. It's like, it's not that the defenses are just lights out. It seems like the offenses are just being very timid and very just kind of wait and see, and just a lot of dunk and dive, a lot of 2-3 yard cloud of dust plays. So that's, I think, been the strangest thing. We're seeing that kind of drop off. And me, as somebody who likes to bet totals in football, it's been kind of hard to navigate a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen here. If you're watching on the stream, these totals are very low. Let's just look at the top of the board,
Like
263,
preseason
264
numbers.
on Sunday. This is the 1:00 game, 42 in New Orleans, Atlanta, and it opened 46.5. So it's moved 4.5 points down. Then you go down, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis at 40. Let's skip down to Minnesota, Green Bay. The look ahead with Malik Willis was 38.5. Now, with Jordan Love expected to play, obviously, that total tells us the market expects Love to play, but 43.5. LA, Chicago, 41, 40.5. Denver, the Jets, 39.5. Tampa, Philly, 42.5. New England, San Francisco, 40.5. Cleveland, Las Vegas, 37. Kansas City Chargers, 39.5's popping. And then you get to Monday night, and I believe this is Will Levis against, is it still Tim Boyle, or did they sign some? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I'm not betting the game, so I don't care. But we've got 1, 2, 3 games in the 30s and a whole bunch of games in the low 40s. Now, eventually, there's going to be that wave of overs, and we're going to probably tick back up. And you know this every year. You see those stories. I had an editor one time tell me at NBC about 5 years ago, hey, you should write a story about how the overs are 70%. And I went, oh, do I have to? Because I'm going to write the story, and then all the games are going to go under. And then everybody's going to be like, look at this jerk who just talked. Because those trends in very small pockets in 2-3 weeks. I think it was after 2 or 3 weeks. Hey, look at this trend. Why don't you write about it? And when a guy like me writes about it, or an editor sees it and says, write about it, there's always that correction, and you start to see games 21-17 or 24-20, and you get over those numbers in the mid-30s. Let me give you quickly the 2 best cover teams in the league. I wonder if you listening along can guess, and I always forget to bring the chat up. I'm going to bring that up here in a second. I got 11 comments right now that I want to get to, including one from our guy, Alex Smith. The 2 undefeated cover teams in the NFL right now, Minnesota and Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Those are the 2. They are both 3-0 to the spread, and Minnesota is covering by an average of 19.8 points per game.
Wow. That's amazing. I would not have guessed that those would be, certainly not Pittsburgh, because I actually had bets on Pittsburgh being one of the worst teams in the league at the beginning of the year. So looking really dumb on that one, but definitely wouldn't have guessed that the Steelers and Vikings would be the cover kings in the first month of the season.
All right, you got a best bet for NFL before we get to hockey?
Well, yeah, we'll stay with the Vikings and that Packers game, and even with if it was Love or Malik Willis, I think there's going to be points in that game. Like I said, we know Minnesota's moving the ball well, but Green Bay always plays Minnesota tough. That's a hated rivalry, and we usually see the ball kind of go up and down. I think that's going to be a game that opens up a little bit. I don't think we're going to see 50 or 60 points, obviously, but at 43.5, we get a 24-20 final 24-21. We get over that number. So I'll go over that 43.5 with Vikings and Packers.
It's going to be tough too, I think. And this was brought up on our morning show by Andy Molitor, who I've brought up a couple times now. He made the point that Brian Flores is so good at studying the tape and figuring out how to attack. I think he called it a demonic something. I forget the terminology he used, but basically Flores is a maniac at studying the film, finding the flaws, and taking care of business on Sunday. Alex, you don't have a lot of film on Jordan Love. He's only played one game this year, and that was the Brazil game, which was kind of weird. There's not a lot of tape in this year's offense on Jordan Love. You have one game where they had, 9 possessions maybe. I didn't look at it. I mean, I'm guessing it's 8-9 possessions. The last 2 games, Malik Willis. So if Jordan Love plays, Flores has to go into the archives and look at older film, and they might be trying new things. So it's not a layup to think that, these are 2 teams that know each other well. These are 2 under teams so far. The fact that Love isn't on tape this year and that Flores has to basically do some guessing work early in the game could sort of set it up for some points. So you like the over 43.5 basically everywhere. Got some 44s offshore, but you're going over 43.5, huh?
Yeah, 43.5. And definitely want to grab that before it hits to 44 for sure.
I see Corbie Craig is hanging out in the lobby here. We'll get to him in about 5 minutes or so. He's got all the college football numbers. Guy's been crushing it on the show, including the Utah State over 2 weeks ago, 43.
Oh, yeah.
Utah had 38 by themselves. So can't wait to hear what he's got. All right, so you got the dance floor now. We've talked a lot of football on this show. 46 minutes now, live on Chicken Dinner. We got about 700 people watching live. Where do you want to start in hockey? You have been very profitable, especially in Stanley Cup Finals with these first periods and these third period bets. But what's the future bet that you made that you're maybe most proud of? And then another one that you still think we can attack right now on a Thursday.
Well, we can kind of talk about the one that's revolving around some breaking news within the last 24 hours. That's the Los Angeles Kings. I like them to miss the playoffs. I grabbed plus 200 when I sent out that text about almost 3 weeks ago. I just thought that this team, they didn't bolster their goaltending, much at all. They, still riding kind of a couple of journeyman goalies. They were very slow at times in the back end. And now their best defenseman, Drew Doughty, just broke his ankle. We haven't heard the timetable yet, but he broke his ankle last night in a preseason game, getting jammed up against the wall early in the first period. So when you add that, you have a weak back end, weak goaltending in a Pacific Division where you're playing against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl on the Edmonton Oilers. You're playing a heavy cycle team in the Vegas Golden Knights. You're playing a team that's going to be playing a lot faster in the Seattle Kraken, just in your division alone, and of course all the other teams that have firepower. I think the LA Kings are going to take a big step back. So I bet them to miss the playoffs at plus 200. You could still get that price anywhere around plus 180 to plus 195, even with the Doughty injury. So definitely shop around for that. So that's something that's actually my largest future bet now because I doubled back on it last night after that injury took place. So LA Kings looking down on them at first. And a team that I liked on the rise in the West is the St. Louis Blues. I think this is a team that's built to kind of push their chips all in. They don't have a lot of depth. If they have injuries, they're going to be in the world of trouble. But they're one of those teams where if they can keep their starting lineup healthy for about 65 games, I think they can push for a wild card spot in a Central Division that's going to be kind of competitive early, and I think it shakes out late. I think they're going to find themselves in the middle of that wild card pack, and that's a bet that I was able to make. Actually have grabbing the price on one I got here. I got that at plus 205 DraftKings for them to make the playoffs. So St. Louis to get into the playoffs, LA Kings to get out of the playoffs. Two things I really like.
So 2 bets, and the best part about those bets, they can go 1-1, and you're going to be just fine because you got 2-1 and plus 190, and that's why we love you, because you're giving us value bets at plus prices. I've heard so many shows like, oh, I like this team at minus 300 to win a division, or I like this team at minus whatever to make the playoffs, and that's not really how you roll. I'm trying to remember. I didn't write it down, so I'm going back in your chat that we have of the bet. You had somebody to score 30 goals at like 9-1, and I can't remember who it was.
Oh, that would be. Let's see, pull it down. I actually don't have that on this chart either, because I'm looking at on my one screen. I have to put it up on the other. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys that I do like to score 30 or plus goals. Jared McCann is one that's not nearly as high as the price of the player you're talking about. But like I said, with the Seattle Kraken getting Dan Bylsma, new coach in, Dan Bylsma, people would know him from the Pittsburgh Penguins early in the years when Crosby and Malkin, and when those teams were starting to kind of win. He was one of the coaches that were in that system running things. He's been with the AHL team for Seattle and Coachella Valley the last years. That team has won the Western Conference in the AHL, gone to the Calder Cup final, and gone to Game 7, only to lose to the Hershey Bears 2 years in a row in Game 7. So they've been a win away from possibly being, or 2 wins away, I should say, from possibly being back-to-back Calder Cup champions. He also brings in the first female coach in NHL history, Jessica Campbell, who's in control of the power play. And I've watched some of those Coachella Valley games. They move the puck around well. I think that offense is going to be electric. So I definitely think Jared McCann will be one of the guys. You can get his 30 or more goals at plus 115, 90 plus points or more at 6-1 over at FanDuel, both those prices. So that is one of the players I like to score 30 or more goals.
That was the one. I think that was you mentioned 90 points, 6-1. I couldn't remember. Yeah. There's so many numbers going through this head right now. I don't know sometimes how I keep it all in order. So Jared McCann to score 90 points, and that is 6-1. That's
6-1. Yeah, I think he's going to get goals on his own, but there's a lot of other guys, especially Shane Wright, who's a young up and coming forward. I think he's going to have a great breakout season. I think he's going to be able to facilitate a lot of his teammates as well. So 90 plus points, he could easily have a 100-point season for sure. 40 points that might put him in that Hart Trophy conversation, perhaps. But I think there's some other guys that might be flashing forward in that department.
I have one final question, and then we'll get to Corbie. Can the Oilers ever get it done with McDavid? That's the only thing I really need the answer to. This team is so talented, and they just keep adding more pieces, and they get so close, but they just can't get it done. And I don't know how much longer. I'm not saying he's going to leave Edmonton, but look, we've seen Gretzky leave good teams and go somewhere else. So I just wonder, is it ever going to happen with McDavid with the Oil?
Well, I'll double down here. No, it's not going to happen, and I believe he will leave Edmonton in the next couple of years. I actually think he's going to end up in Montreal. That's a claim that I made on our Ice Guys season previews videos that'll be coming up in the next week over at the Ice Guys YouTube channel. And I just don't think this team, they're always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And that was proof of it last year. You're down 3-0. You find a way to tie the series and force Game 7, and then you still find a way to lose. I mean, that's just as heartbreaking as it gets. And that kind of cup hangover is something we haven't seen ever. So now, how do they respond? How do they bounce back out of the gate to start the season? We know they had a bad start of the season last year. That's what ended up forcing the change in coaches. They fired Jay Woodcroft, and they bring in Knobloch, and he leads them all the way to the West, and beyond. So I don't think they're going to do it. I think there's other teams that are better in the West. I think Dallas is a strong team. Nashville made some great changes. They're going to be bolstered up. Seattle and Vancouver, like I said, in that own division. So I think Edmonton falls short, and I think McDavid gets tired. Like you said, Gretzky left Edmonton. There's no reason why McDavid can't leave Edmonton.
He's on Twitter at AX Smith Sports. Will you pour yourself a shot of Black Barrel as we let you go? I guess I could just take it out of the bottle. And there it is. If you're watching on YouTube and X, that is the link. Alex and Ian do an outstanding job. Multiple shows a week, and during the playoffs, they are ramping up and they are firing live. And I've been a guest on some of those shows. And now that I have a job again, I probably have to be careful, just going on the show and just freely, wheeling and dealing, I guess. That is the show, though, right there on YouTube, The Ice Guys with Alex Smith and Ian Cameron. And again, the Twitter handle at AX Smith Sports. Actually, I probably shouldn't rip this out of the bottle. I'm a professional now. I will just cheers you like a gentleman.
Cheers, sir. Thanks for having me on as always. Yeah, he said 7 days a week. The regular show is 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, and then we do the betcast. First betcast will be October 22nd, when every team plays on that night, with every game starting in a 15-minute span. It's a Frozen Frenzy, so we'll be doing the live stream for that as well.
Love you, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, cheers. See you, man.
All right, he was taking that sip. That's why he didn't say love you too. I'm going to stand by that. Is Corbie Craig is here in the show. Bullet Diet?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
I'm halfway done because I got in here on time. You like to talk. So
I do like to talk.
Though. Great
I do
talk.
like to talk.
Alex,
hey, but
guy.
I hear there's a rumor of you may be doing a little chicken dinner streamage on Saturday. So you'll have plenty of time to talk to yourself.
This is true. For the what? How many people we have live right now?
719, and those are rookie numbers, to be honest.
Hey, that's fine. It's a Thursday. There's some Thursday night football. It's a pretty dead time. There's hurricanes in the world. There's other things happening better than listening to us. But I will say 719. Listen, if you go back and you watch this or whatever you do, I was telling Sammy the other day. Everyone knows I could sit here. I got the itch. I could talk about anything, Sam. So if there's enough eyeballs that actually want to watch this, you can see me caffeined up, Adderalled up on a Saturday talking props, college football. If there's enough eyes, but obviously this is just a fun thing to do. If there's people that enjoy that, tell Sammy. We'll make it happen. I'm down. I could talk to a brick wall for an hour, so I am as down as can be.
I think we should actually do that. I'm totally down. As I told you, though, Saturday's the only day I have off, so I will maybe I'll pop in, but I will definitely not be ready to fire.
I'll have to
at your level.
I'll certainly have to use your sources. You get some good guests. Alex just crushed the hockey. I'm gonna go bet that. I think it's the Blackhawks or wherever the 2-1 no.
Oh, the
playoffs.
Blues. No, Blues to make the playoffs 2-1. Kings to miss at 2-1.
Kings miss. Hey, I love injury stuff. That's when I heard that I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, Drew Doughty, a big piece of that. All right, so last week you gave us 2 totals, and your totals you always crush the totals, and it's so funny. Every time you and I talk sides, you give me a side, and then you say I'm not good at sides and I hate sides, but you still give them anyways. So you gave over 58 in SMU TCU. You gave over 58, 66-42, the
Close
final.
one.
You gave over 50.5 in Baylor, Colorado. It was over before the overtime, 38-31 final. So just total nails. And then the side you gave, Kansas State -6.5. You even said it on the show. You hate sides.
What can I say?
That did not come home. So maybe we will restrict you from giving sides out. Before we get to the UNLV quarterback and what that did to your numbers and the market in general, I am so bad at getting to these comments in the chat. So we got one from RF21312. Already smashed the like button, and the show hasn't even started yet. Hell yeah, that is dedication right there. Alex B. Smith, #Buck. We just saw the handsome gentleman with the Carolina blue hoodie. Peter Dirks, #Bach. This one from Alex. Let's get it. I agree. Colin Sheehan, what's up, Chicken Dinner? That guy is one of the best horse handicappers. I got 2 guys. I got Uncle Kirk down in Florida. I got Colin Sheehan here in Massachusetts. Guy's a stud, man. Trust the Profits is his show if you're looking for horse information. Here's our guy, Rob, with the duck, the boat, and you donkey. He has been telling me. I'm curious to know, what do you have the Oregon number at? Pull that up. Oregon playing UCLA. That's his favorite bet. He's got Ducks team total over. I love Rob comes in and gives us emojis. Duck, boat emoji, you donkey. So basically saying, take the Ducks over, you donkey. Ryan Welchel chiming in with a balk, elongated balk, lots of B's, A's, W's, and K's. Brewhand Luke, let's go White Sox. They've won 3 in a row. 3 in a row they've won.
That's hey, it's like digging out of the grave. The only issue, the grave's about 45 foot deep. But hey, 3 in a row.
Good for them. They just swept away the Angels. Jarek, look at these 2 beauties. You're beautiful. So are you. Addison. Oh, look at this. This is a 2-part. Oh, dang, we drinking. Let's go. Followed by 4 roses. So Addison is hanging out and drinking with the boys as well. I asked you a million things. I apologize about that. But what do you have on Oregon team total? What's your final score, Oregon, UCLA?
Yeah, I'd be curious what the team total is. I'm going to get 38.5 to 16.5. I would assume their team total is probably 38.5.
It's 39, I think. 39.5.
Yeah, make it 38.5. So not any fun, huh?
No. Hey, but guess what? There's a market. You got a number. You don't bet it. Simple.
Agreed. Hey, I will say, you go ahead.
You first. You first. I've been talking for 59 minutes.
I got you. I will say, this is a fun day for chicken dinner because today, what is today? Thursday. There's been 2 releases, public releases. Everybody could have seen them. I am on the opposite of both of those releases. So this should be fun. You'll get a good price. I sent the me versus the world. It's happened a few weeks back. I don't understand it. Like usually, a model will generally have like a similar idea. Like you're usually not opposite. You just are neutral. Maybe it's not a play. Full opposite. So you want to hop into those? Or
before we do that, no, I want to save that for the end because you got bets that are actionable and you got bets that win, and you've done it for 3 weeks straight on the show. Totals that are just awesome, and I do love.
Should be 4, but we won't hold episode 1 hostage. It's okay. I've been on the next 3. We'll episode 1.
I think you have a regular spot. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, last week you put in the chat that you were my long lost son. So
hey, look at this week's.
Yeah, capital Bach.
I don't even know what it means, but I'm here for it.
Well, that's what a chicken does. Bok.
Okay,
that's what it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I know you don't get outside
much.
Eat them. It's okay. I want to talk about this game that obviously you and I were very close to. over the week. That's UNLV and their quarterback, which when I got the tip, I couldn't believe it. I almost didn't think it was real that this quarterback would quit on his team. And quit is maybe too far, because college athletics are just college coaches, for that matter, are just so shady, and a lot of them are crooked. And if they're on a team that starts 4-0, their agent's on the phone with a bigger program. So that happens in coaching all the time. Now it's falling to the players. And we've seen the story that the father and the camp around Sluka have basically come out and said that he was offered $100,000 and the team gave him $3 million, and they were trying to get their money, which, if that was true, pay him the money. Didn't happen, and he's entering the portal. So this line right here on the screen, 185, 186, Fresno at UNLV. On Tuesday night, Fresno was a 4-point dog. And it started to get out, and we started to bet it. And I think you got some 3.5. I got a lot of 3.5. And you're waiting for the news to come out. And at 12:35 Eastern time, 9:35 p.m. in Vegas, Matthew Sluka tweets that he's leaving UNLV and that he's entering the portal and that he wishes his teammates all the best. And it just got destroyed, right? They took the threes, because it went from 4 to 3.5 to 3 and kind of sat there. Well, when he tweeted it, 3 to 2 to 1, by the time we get up Wednesday morning, it's Fresno -1. And it keeps climbing. Fresno -1.5, -2. I think I called you 3 times at 1 a.m, didn't I? And I didn't wake you up, surprisingly. But yeah. I was like, let's take any plus price on Fresno, any 3s, any 2.5s, any 2s. So it goes through the 0. But then you're hearing now, what is the coach saying? The backup's better. Well, if he was better, why didn't he start in the first place? I always love that. And then you got teammates saying that Sluka was a bad guy in the room, and you know, guys are banging on the table, and you got, other guys on the other side of the game coming in, and now they're taking plus on UNLV, and now they're betting UNLV. So I'm curious, what was your number with Sluka in side, and what was the number, or what is the number now with the backup Williams under center for the Rebs?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to digest from this, and some of them are just like a market theory, and some of them are this game in particular. The market theory would be like, I think always when there's news like this, if you can get it first, obviously you're going to be in a good spot. Like holding a 3.5 right now, I really don't care what happens in this game. I feel fine. But almost always these are going to move too far. Like we saw Fresno hit 2-point favorite at one point. Like it's too far of a move. This isn't Jalen Miller.
I agree. Sluka's not worth 6 points. I agree with that.
And you'll see that almost every time that something is like this big of a public entity, because when people get it behind the scenes, they're betting it. And that number is just sitting there primed and ready to get moved even more, because this money has done something to the market. And so then when this gets announced, it's going to fly. I think that's the biggest takeaway from the start is like, if you're betting information, usually the first move, second move are too big and they're going to get bought back. Is the buyback correct? Probably not. But they're always going to move back. A couple important things to me would be, first off, Sluka is not worth that. I told you I made Fresno 1-point favorite. Without Sluka, I make him 3.5-point favorites. I think it was like 3.4. So 2-point quarterback. I mean, this guy wasn't anything to write home about. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue isn't me. It's not Sluka for me. When did this come out? Tuesday? Like, now you're going to have to prepare on a short week a quarterback who wasn't ready to play QB1 to play a team in Fresno who's really good. So it's less like you're not just interchanging chess pieces. There's a lot of like mental game that has to be played. Also, Malik Williams, he can run pretty well, but he is a thrower. Like, he can throw the football. So like from a scheme standpoint, I think if you want to prove that Sluka didn't really matter, you don't run the Sluka offense, because if you do, then you do it bad. Then it looks like, hey, we probably should pay this guy. Wide receiver 1 was already on social media saying like, hell yes, Williams can throw the ball. I can't wait. Like, you see this total click up. It was 48.5 this morning. It's 49.5 now. I see some 50s. If you could get a flat 49, which we can't, so won't take it as a bet on the show. But like, man, I made this number 55. I would be over. I'd be over 49.5 still, but I'm gonna lay low because there is so much uncertainty. It's not something that like I don't know what kind of offense they're gonna run. So I'm gonna chill on it. I haven't bet it. If I was hoping that somehow it would hit 47, and then I would have. I don't care if they run Air Force's offense. If this hit 47, it's a bet for me. It's not gonna come there. So if you have a 49, I would be fine with the bet. I lay low. Sluka is just like, I mean, he like it's a weird situation. I imagine he's in the wrong because it was $85,000 is what I heard, and like it's going to ruin the NIL reputation of the school if it comes out that it was actually them not paying. So I can't imagine this is the school's fault. I would say it's Sluka.
I want to get to your point about the buyback and if it's right, because I have a perfect example from several years ago where the information is so good and the line moves, but there's people on the other side of the move that are still going to take a perceived good number. And in the second quarter, it's not a good number. You know what I'm saying? I want to give a quick market update, though. It's 8:07 on the East Coast. Kickoff 8 minutes from now in New Jersey. The fives are starting to build back up. You can see the screen right now. You got a lot of yellow and green on there. Those are moves within the last 5 to 10 minutes. Still a 5 at Pinnacle. Whoa, there goes DraftKings to 6. As I'm talking, there goes Superbook 5.5. So here comes that late Dallas Cowboy money. Eventually, Corbie, we're going to have a week in the NFL where the favorites actually win and cover. It's going to happen eventually. But for those that didn't hear off the top, you got 8 minutes to take my advice if you choose. 15-12 so far this season after a 3-5 weekend last weekend that I still don't know how Baylor didn't cover. But I think Dallas is a very good money line leg for a parlay. I'm not laying 5.5 with that defense, but I will bet against Daniel Jones. And on Chicken Dinner at chickenxdinner, I suggested a Cowboy Bear money line parlay. So Dallas and Chicago comes in at about plus 135. It might be a little cheaper now because we're seeing DraftKings at 6 and books at a juiced 5.5. So maybe like plus a quarter now. Dallas should win this game. If you don't like Chicago, just do an open parlay. You know, you can fill it on Saturday or on Sunday, or you can fill it whenever you want for that matter. But I think Dallas is a really good money line parlay leg. And I think Dallas-Chicago is good. I love the Bears against the Rams on Sunday. So I think you made a really good point about how information gets out. Number obviously moves, and oftentimes it moves too far. But then you get the buyback. And we saw that in UNLV Fresno. You know, Fresno goes from +4 to -2, and then people come back and they blast UNLV because they're like, that number is way too far. This happened in a game in the Big Ten in 2020. It was Michigan against Wisconsin. And I don't want to show you the final score yet, but I have it queued up. So Wisconsin opens 1 at home against Michigan. And we found out that Kwity Paye was out, their big defensive lineman. They had another D lineman out. They had a couple offensive linemen out. Maybe one of their guys was going to the draft. He didn't play in that game. There was COVID rumors around Michigan. It was just a bad spot for Michigan. And the 1 quickly became a 3, which became a 4, which got to 6, which got to 7. So it had moved 6 points. And there were people that maybe didn't have the information and look at the board and go, holy shit, I can get 7 now. It's a good number perceptionally, right? You could have laid 1 and now you can take 7. Well, the final score in that game, as I share the screen, was Wisconsin 49, Michigan 11. Now, I'm not saying because that happened there, it will happen in UNLV Fresno, but there is some truth that guys that bet good numbers don't have the information maybe at hand, and their good number, as it was in Michigan, if you're holding Michigan +7, you're down 14-0 in the first quarter and lose by 38. So yeah, you got a good number, but you got your ass kicked.
Yeah, fully. Also, a big thing for me there is like, I don't know that game in particular, but you'll see this. college in particular, it's why I focus so much on college, is like people are, I think the correct word is quasi smart. They are very smart, but they like overthink this. Like, okay, they're going to say, hey, Sluke is worth what, 3 points. Malik Williams is a good quarterback behind. How do you come up to that justification? What do you go? You go look at his community college stats. Like, I mean, this isn't a guy who came from Campbell. Like, this isn't a guy who came from Miami, and you're like, I have seen him versus actual talented teams. Like, you can say Malik Williams is 1.5 better than the average player, but like, you have no clue. And so a similar thing, probably like with Michigan, you're like, okay, this has moved 4.5 points. Michigan's second string defensive lineman, still a 4-star, but like, you've never actually seen him do anything. So at the end of the day, I think, especially in news, is like, you don't have to play any game. If you didn't get the news and you didn't beat market to it, you don't have to play a buyback. Like, I have some numbers that are just ridiculous totals, but there's information and things going on that I don't want to even touch. Like, you have no clue what's going to happen. So I would say, if you didn't get it, this is one of those games that could be really weird. I wouldn't buy the buyback. I would. It would be Fresno or the over for me.
Also, to your point about Williams and Campbell, if you look at his stats at Campbell, we're talking about games against Towson, Maine, Richmond, Hampton, Monmouth, Stony Brook. Fresno is a very good program. So don't think that, that's a fair comparison. Okay. Kickoff for Thursday night, less than 5 minutes. Let's wrap up this with one more comment in the chat from Jake, who says, would definitely watch a Corbie Saturday show. I think it's a done deal. You just let me know when you want to start, and we can offline about that.
We can't do this Saturday. The Tide play. I gotta start drinking about 8:30 a.m.
See, already you're bailing on the people.
We got Georgia. I could make it happen.
No.
See, the best thing about this show, Sammy, is I think that the people come for knowledge, which is easy. Like, we can talk this stuff all day. I think they stay for the entertainment though. So hey, maybe some people will have some good time seeing a little rosy cheek Corbie talk about why Kent State's not going to score 16.5 points on Saturday.
Oh boy. All right. Take us home with more winners. You gave us 2-1 last week. I believe on the season, you're something like 7-4 on this show. I haven't tracked them all because these are free bets and you don't owe anybody anything, but we appreciate you sharing. I'm going to put a restrictor plate on the sides though. No sides.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. What do you got?
Had none ready for you. All right. So first we'll go to the nastiest game of the day. Do not watch this game. I will preface, do not watch this game. 2:30 Central, 110. But the rotation number is not going to matter too much because we're going to go to Kent State team total under 16.5 minus 102. Kent State very publicly, this is a very known thing. QB1 out for the season. QB2 out for the season. What just seems to be going under the crosshairs is QB3 came in that Penn State game where they got blown out. He was already hurt. He had a hurt finger. He's been nursing it for a couple weeks. In one of those last series, he got stepped on his hurt hand by his own offensive lineman. He's going to play this week. How much do they throw the ball? We see an Eastern Michigan team who doesn't really care to run it up. I think that they ran 11 passing plays with their starting quarterback last week in a blowout. They scored 28 versus UMass. This isn't a team that just wants to win 65-0. So I took some under 48. That's not available anymore. It's 46 now, 45. So we're going to go Kent State team total under 16.5 for the first one.
Okay. Kent State under 16.5. That is
You
one. I imagine you got two more.
Oh yeah. All right. So I had a couple lined up for you. Okay. I'll ask this. Do you want Corbie versus the world? Do you want the opposite of the public releases, or do you want what I came here to offer? I would say, in theory, the Corbie versus the world are going to do worse because there are people who are opposition of me. We'll have fun. We'll do one opposition. We'll do one regular play.
Okay. I love that you asked me a question and then answered the question, but that's fine. Let's not do two against the world plays.
That's fine. There was a public release show, 3-letter service. I think it was on YouTube recently, today. They only released one bet, and I'm on the opposite side of it. So make that with what you will. I won't talk about that one. We'll go to rotation number. I got to give you a rotation, Sam. Let's see here.
Tell me it's 6 digits. I need a 6-digit play.
Oh, it's not 6 digits. It's
Oh, man.
This is versus the world. This versus the world. They're not going to let me have 6 digits. I don't even see the rotation. Okay, give me. You can find it. SMU playing should be here. It is 147. SMU, Florida State, probably should be a 6-digit. Florida State looks like trash. So Joey Tunes just posted the under 48.5, giving me the ability to come on Chicken Dinner and give you the over 47. What a beautiful number. Flat key over 47, 147 SMU, Florida State. Pretty simple. SMU also is getting steamed to the side. 6.5 now. This was 6.5 juiced over. Buckeye skins. No. Looks like bookmaker skins. 411 skin. Juicing this over. In what concept does SMU win this game? I think it's a blowout. Like, I mean, it's a fast-paced game. If Florida State can control anything, they have a respectable defensive line who's played bad. They have a quarterback who I think at this point we all know is kind of dog shit. So, like, how do they win? How does Florida State win this game? It's slow. How does SMU win this game? It's what we saw last week, 69-42. I think that Jennings is a major upgrade to this offense. Offensive line's awful. He has allowed them to run a scheme that opens the pace a ton. Now, Florida State can put a lot of pressure on him. The issue is Jennings loves to run out of bounds. So these are 10, 12-yard runs run out of bounds, which I think gives you a new play set pretty quickly. I think there's going to be a lot more plays in this game than the average game that goes 47. Florida State also, like, at the end of the day, they have a pretty decent team. Like, from a talent standpoint, they're running as bad as they can possibly run. So buying as low as possible in Florida State. Also, if you watch SMU, they're one of these teams that will kind of allow like the 4-yard outs, the 5-yard outs, 4-yard slants, maybe like a running back wheel. They're a non-explosive play team. I think DJU's like actually a decent short yardage. I'm not gonna say it's good, but like this is the type of game I think you can get some confidence. And a guy who was a 5-star player, he was the number 2 quarterback in the nation over CJ Stroud. Like, I'm just not buying that he is as bad as people give him credit for. So give me the over 47, 147.
And then we got time for one more. You usually give 3 and we shoot for 2 and 1. So you gave us the Kent State total. You like the over 47 in Florida State SMU. Take us home, brother.
We're gonna keep it with overs. I will say, for some reason this year, my overs are like 71%. The unders are kind of slacking. So we're gonna stick overs here. Kent State, that's a completely different story. We're gonna go 197. USC, Wisconsin. Tell me what number I can get, Sam. I didn't look at this one before the show.
50.5 at FanDuel. Mostly 51.
Give me 50.5. That is what I bet. So I will be happy. Actually, let's make it fair. I see a lot of 51s. We'll say 51. Wisconsin, USC over 51. A couple things. First off, USC off of a pretty tough Michigan game, having to travel cross country back home. Don't think that matters too much. I love Miller Moss. I think Miller Moss is a dog. The main thing here, everyone is kind of discrediting Wisconsin. I've said its team's name wrong 4 times now. Wisconsin, because the quarterback came in versus Alabama, he didn't look good. Imagine this kid is behind Tyler Van Dyke. He does not think he's playing in the game versus Alabama. Like, he is sitting on the side. He is relaxed, having a good time. Tyler Van Dyke gets hurt. He gets thrown from second string, not going to play. I mean, I'm sure his usage, if you simmed it, is like pretty close to 0. To having to run a scheme that he's like hasn't practiced with the ones versus Alabama, like absolutely the worst situation. And if you watch the first drive that he came in, Van Dyke got hurt. He drove down the field and got a field goal. Like, I don't think that he looked awful. Now you give him a bye week Wisconsin had last week to prep with the ones. Like, seems like a pretty decent spot for me. This kid was a high-level recruit, went to Mississippi State, transferred to Wisconsin, over 51. I think Miller Moss can score at will. We've kind of seen USC wanting to run up scores when they can, and off of a Michigan loss, which looks pretty bad. I would imagine if they can, this is a spot where they run up the score. So give me the over 51.
All right, we're going to go over in USC and Wisconsin. Not
there
Michigan.
You go.
Wisconsin. Take the over in Florida State SMU, and then you like the Kent State team total under. Let me give you an FCS play that I gave to the Bear on on Wednesday. Oh, it's already moved. Here it is, 308,901. As you look at it on your screen, I said 55.5 on Wednesday. Look at it now. Now it's only up at 2 books. And these, as you know, these are the extra games. They don't come out until Saturday morning at most shops. Already, the power of the Bear Bets podcast, Fox Sports, 57.5 at FanDuel, 58.5 at DraftKings. See, we were looking to play it up to 58. Of course, already 58.5.
You're going to be watching that one?
I don't like it as much. I just can't. It was 55.5 on Wednesday. I need to keep those to myself.
Bear. Or actually, don't keep them to yourself. Give them to me first. So, like go Corbie, then Bear, then everybody else. And then it's perfectly fine.
But you can't, we can't bet. We can only bet them at 2 places. You can't bet those with a local or a PPH.
This is true. I would do nothing with them. I would sit on them until hopefully Saturday, and they wouldn't be there. So,
and I know for a fact that they don't let you bet big limits on Wednesday and Thursday. So they probably watched the show, took a couple bets, and said, let's just move it. I mean, they moved it 3 points, and I know they're not taking big limits on Holy Cross and Cuse. But Cuse is going to score like 49 points in this game. So then you just now you need 10 from Holy Cross. On Wednesday, you needed 7. But we'll see. We'll see what the market does on Saturday morning. That's Corbie Craig from Get Better Odds at Corbie BO. We'll talk offline about the Saturday show. And,
everybody spam the chicken dinner DMs if you want a Saturday show. If there's enough DM, I'll relax my Saturday. We'll get a Saturday morning going on.
I am not opposed to it at all. I think it'd be a great thing. It would give us another day of content.
Agreed. And player props would be readily available. I love these injuries, this scheme stuff. Like, it wouldn't be Saturday. Probably wouldn't be most sides and totals. Like, we'd be talking the nasty stuff. So I think it would be fun. It would get the sickos in here right before the game day is kind of dying down. We've seen game day kind of. They're doing it for views at this point. We can get some good stuff happening here.
All right, buddy. Thanks again. Appreciate you. Cheers.
All right. See you.
Man's out of bullet diet. He needs a new one. Doesn't even have any more left. All right. 2 more quick orders of business. I'm going to rip through the picks one more time that we gave you top of the show. Cowboys money line, Bears money line plus 135. Obviously, Dallas underway. I think they win, and I like the Bears a lot. Maybe some of you took that Cowboy leg and put it in an open parlay. Whatever you want to do. Colorado plus 14. North Carolina plus 2.5. Penn State minus the points. Yeah, I'm going to lay it here against Illinois, minus 17.5. Colts took the 1.5. Jaguars plus 6.5. And Seattle, Detroit over 46.5. Did go 3-5 last week. Had the Baylor game. What are you going to do? Still up on the season, just a little bit, 15-12 on the record. And the last thing I wanted to share is I also touched on off the top, the new morning show on Odyssey and the BetQL network. There it is right there. Boom. BetQL Daily, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Joe Ostrowski and myself, we are having such a blast. And the numbers, by all accounts, are through the roof. People are enjoying. People are hanging around. People are consuming, not only live, but downloading. And we're just ripping off characters. So many good guests. We had a pair of brothers out of Chicago today from the 108 who are still alive in Survivor. Their thought process, their strategy. We had Shay and Irving on the other day. GRP was on yesterday. Just weaving in a bunch of really cool people. Some that know what they're doing, some that maybe don't. But it's an entertainment show, and Joe and I are with you every morning from 9 a.m. Eastern to 12 p.m. And that's basically it. So good luck this weekend. Cash up tickets, make some money. 869 of you still in the chat right now. When Thursday Night Football is on, we appreciate you. We really, really do. We'll talk to you next Thursday right here on Chicken Dinner.